Okay, hi everybody. My name is Kathy Burrell, and I'm an entrepreneur in residence at WeBC. And before we get started, I just wanted to acknowledge that we're gathered here today in Kelowna, which is on the traditional and unceded territory of the Okanagan Syilx people. We recognize, honor, and respect the presence of Indigenous people, past, present, and future. So welcome, everybody. Um, if you are interested to know which traditional territory that you're located on, WeBC does this webinar to anyone that wants to participate, mostly in BC. Go ahead and type in the chat a hi with your first name and which traditional territory you're located on. If you're not sure, we're actually, Jen, who is assisting us today, is going to put a link in the chat that kind of outlines which where certain cities are on which traditional territories. I also want to let everybody know that we want you to get a lot of value out of these webinars that we do and fireside chats and everything. So if there's a burning topic, something that you're so interested in, but nobody else seems to be talking about, at the end of the session today, there's a feedback poll. And in the feedback poll, we would love you to just make a suggestion with your name, and we will contact you to talk more about it because we're just, we want to provide value for you here at WeBC. So yeah, we would love to hear your suggestions. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what WeBC has to offer before we get to Sarah. So what we offer is we provide support for your small business journey. We offer financing to get your business started and operating capital to fuel your growth. We offer more flexibility than traditional lenders because we really do take a holistic approach and provide loans based on your business's viability versus a formula like many of the banks use. This means we provide loans to a diverse range of women-owned businesses and support you with integrated services, including complimentary training, mentoring, and business advising. And you can really learn all about that by going to our website, we-bc.ca. From essential business skills development to personalized business advice, we know the right questions to ask and the right resources to connect you with. In our mentoring programs, you can connect with a network of women entrepreneurs and experts around BC who can support and inspire you. You can learn more about our services at our website, we-bc.ca. You can also call us, and Jen will put the number in the chat. And we would love you to sign up for our e-blast newsletters. It just takes a couple of minutes. You go online, WeBC e-blast. You can sign up, and then once a month we send you a newsletter that has all of our great webinars that we're putting on, information on mentoring, anything like that. And you can read it quickly, decide if you're interested, and then we'll send you another one the next month. We've got a ton of great offerings coming up. And I mean, even to show that 200 and some people have signed up for this webinar on the 15th of July shows that, everybody's really interested in getting your business started. Okay. I'd like to welcome our panelist today, who is Sarah Campbell, Director, Studio 3 Creative. Many entrepreneurs think they have a marketing problem when actually they have a strategy problem. You can only be strategic if you know how effective your marketing really is. And key performance indicators, which is a KPI, are the numbers that help you see that clearly. In this WeCafé, we're breaking down the numbers that truly matter to your business and the communication habits that can make or break a new client relationship. And isn't that important? WeBC is hosting Sarah Campbell, Director of Studio 3 Creative, for a clear, no-fluff conversation about tracking what's working, understanding your results, and that's a big one, and responding faster so our opportunities don't slip through the cracks or you wasting your time doing a lot of other things that you don't need to be doing. You'll leave today with one clear number to track and one habit to put into action so you can start making more confident decisions right away. So hopefully everybody's ready. And like I say, we're recording this webinar, so you don't have to take huge notes. You can just listen to Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and you go ahead and share yours. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Kathy. And hi, everybody. Excuse me, sorry. I'm just getting over a cold, so hopefully that was the extent of my coughing that we're going to have today, but you never know. Can everybody see my screen okay? Thumbs up if it's looking okay. Okay, awesome. All right, so hi everybody. Thanks for that introduction, Kathy. As Kathy mentioned, my name is Sarah Campbell and I'll be your facilitator today. I'm a copywriter, a content marketer, a strategist, and a facilitator, and I've been working in the advertising and marketing industry for about 13 years now, on both the client side and on the agency side. I've helped several businesses and thought leaders in a variety of industries build up their online presence and curate their funnels to make more sales. I'm super excited to be bringing all that expertise here for you today. I also happen to be the founder of Studio 3, which is a digital content agency. Our focus is on helping you build trust and get leads so you can make more sales. We're going to drop my contact information in the chat as well as a link to the workbook for today. You would have also gotten an email, I believe, ahead of time with that workbook as well. It's a digital PDF, so feel free to follow along as we're working through the course today. There's a couple of activities that we're going to do because I believe in a very active webinar. So you can follow along in that workbook or take notes however you want. As Kathy mentioned, this is being recorded and will be shared out afterwards as well. So again, that link is going to be in the chat for the workbook. It was also shared ahead of time, so you might have an email with that as well. Finally, there's going to be a QR code on the slides today. It links to a marketing audit that we offer at Studio 3. It's totally free. It takes about 5 minutes to do. And it just gives you a little bit of a snapshot of where your marketing stands. It gives you a little bit of a score to work off of. So I recommend checking that out after the webinar once you have an idea of your KPIs, and it can start to give you maybe some next steps for you to work on in marketing as well. All right, all that being said, let's get started. Our goals today we're going to define your core marketing goals and track them with simple KPIs. We're going to understand how to calculate your lead conversion rate. We're going to know when to pivot or pause a marketing channel, and we're going to review some key habits that drive results. Since we're on a webinar, I'm going to do my absolute best to check in frequently. So will our awesome moderators. I'll do my best to check the chat, but you know, it's hard to always check back and forth. And as Kathy mentioned, we've got a lot of people on the chat today. So they'll yell out if there's a couple of questions that come out for me. But if you have a question and it's burning, feel free to come off mute and ask. I love it when these are interactive and we can get some client stories and real world examples going. So happy to answer questions as we go. Also, feel free to use the chat box to share as we go through the activities. If you feel comfortable sharing what your results are or what you're working on, feel free to drop those in there. No worries if you have your camera on or your camera off. I'm happy to chat with you all either way. And of course, we're all professionals here, so if you have to step out and take a call, no problem. We're being recorded. Just make sure that you are on mute. All right. Now that all of that housekeeping stuff is out of the way, let's dive in with a question. Who out there is currently tracking their marketing numbers right now? You're pretty confident you're tracking at least one, two, a couple. You can just throw up a thumbs up or drop an emoji in the chat or say yes, no, maybe. I hate KPIs. Not enough, just a couple, absolutely. Tracking any is honestly impressive. Not sure what I should be tracking, so probably not. A very common that comes up. Could do better. Instagram, Facebook tells me stats sometimes, but then it's like which stats are important. Still in the panning phase, barely, absolutely. So I want to start this off by just totally normalizing for everybody. Marketing stats, I do a lot of one-to-one coaching, and one of the things that comes up a lot is that, you know, people don't know what to start tracking. They know that they should. You're convinced, we're not convincing you that data is important. You know data is important. What you are worrying about is what is the right stuff to be tracking? Where should I be spending my very limited time? And so that's what we're going to try and talk about today, because as Kathy mentioned, Most founders don't have a marketing problem, they have a strategy problem, and that's the gap that we want to look at. So let's hop into what is a KPI. So KPI stands for Key Performance Indicators. It's just a fancy way of saying the number that tells me if I'm getting closer to my goal. Without KPIs, you're basically driving with your eyes closed. So here's 3 real world examples of how not knowing your numbers can hurt. You keep posting, but nobody's booking with you. You spend $500 on ads that get clicks, but no conversions. You hire help, but you can't tell if that's actually moving the needle for you. Knowing your numbers equals knowing your next step. I once had a client spend $2,000 on ads without a follow-up system. So they got great clicks, but 0 sales. So when they got in contact with us, they said, marketing just doesn't work for us. We tried it and it just doesn't work. But really, once we started tracking and we were able to dive into their numbers and look at what was going on, we were able to see which area of their funnel wasn't working. And that was the follow-up area. Once we were able to get that follow-up section of the funnel moving, they actually started getting sales from the marketing they were doing. And one last note here, because I have this stat and I just love this stat. 27% of surveyed small businesses don't have a documented business strategy. So if you don't have a documented business strategy or your numbers written down or ready to go, you are not alone in this. But it also makes a big difference when you do have those goals in place. So where do our KPIs come from? Your KPIs come from your overarching business and marketing goals. They're not just pulled out of thin air. They should all build together into what you're working on. So let's talk about your business goals first. There are 5 areas of business goals that you might be looking at: growth, financial, operational, customer service, and sales. So a few examples of what a growth goal might look like could be increasing your annual revenue by 20%, or expanding into a new geographic market, or acquiring 100 new customers a month. Financial goals could be improving your profit margins by 10%, reducing overhead costs by 15% within 6 months, raising $500,000 in investment funding. Your operational goals might look like improving your internal systems for client onboarding, cutting down the time, implementing a new CRM system, reducing customer support response time. And then you might have customer goals. So the customer goals might be something like improving your net promoter score or your NPS, collecting 100 new reviews or testimonials, reducing your churn by 10% within 6 months. Your sales goals, that's where a lot of us tend to start, is closing $100,000 in new contracts per quarter, or increasing your average deal size by 10%. All of these goals go back to what is it that your company is focusing on right now? What are your priorities as a company? And that doesn't exist in a void without your marketing goals. Your marketing goals always support your business goals. So depending on what your business goal is, will determine what your marketing goals are. So for example, one of your goals might be to close $100,000 in new contracts per quarter. You're going to do that by setting a marketing goal of growing your website traffic by 40% over the next 12 months. Or it could be increase customer retention by 15%. And you're going to do that by launching a customer satisfaction campaign. A few more ideas, you might be increasing social media followers, or achieving a specific conversion rate, or trying to rank on the first page of Google. You might be looking at more branding or awareness. You're just trying to make sure people know that you exist and recognize you in the marketplace. That could be increasing your brand recognition, securing media placements, hosting or sponsoring events. As you'll notice, a lot of the examples I gave today are SMART goals. You always want to be setting both your business goals and your marketing goals as SMART goals. That means they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Specific is your goal should be clear and well-defined. So instead of saying get better at marketing, you want to say publish 2 LinkedIn posts per week targeting B2B service providers. Measurable, you should be able to track your progress and measure success. So instead of grow the business, you want to increase monthly revenue by 15% within 6 months. Achievable, make sure the goal is realistic given your resources, time, and current situation. So instead of double our revenue next week, you want to add 10 new clients in Q4 through targeted email outreach. Relevant, excuse me, sorry. Relevant, the goal should align with your broader business objectives and priorities. So not start a TikTok channel for fun, but launch a LinkedIn ad campaign to attract mid-sized consulting firms. And time bound. You want to set a deadline so there's urgency and a clear timeline. So not working on improving sales, but close 50K in new deals by December 31st. All right, so this takes us to our first activity. This is on page 4 in the workbook if you're following along in the workbook, or if you want to just make notes on a pad of paper in front of you, that works too. But what we want to do is write down 1 to 3 goals you want your marketing to achieve in the next 30 to 60 days. So examples of that, it could be, I want to get 10 new consult calls. I want to grow my email list by 50 subscribers. I want to make 3 new sales from Instagram. So I'll give everybody a couple of minutes to just write down your first couple of goals. It can be the first things that come to mind. It can be a big, broad goal, anything that works for you. And while we're doing that, if anyone has any questions so far, feel free to drop them in the chat. Awesome. We have our first goal dropped in the chat. Get more than 100 new clients. That's a big goal. I love it. Going for volume. I have a hard time knowing what measure is reasonable. For example, I want to start an email newsletter that lets subscribers know about grocery sales and new products. I would like it to achieve a 15% growth in grocery sales, but I don't know if that's low, high, or reasonable. That's a really great question. So when you go about setting goals for yourself, there's a couple of different ways you can start to give yourself waypoints. One big way is research. So looking out there and seeing what are the industry benchmarks. A lot of things around email, MailChimp has information on, HubSpot has information on, and they're able to give you, based on the industry that you're in, a few benchmarks to give yourself a little bit of an idea of who else in the marketplace, where they're sitting. So I always, if I don't have any backwards data for myself, I always start with industry benchmarks and go from there. If you have some data yourself, you can also pull historical data and say, okay, so in the past, we've been able to grow our email list by 10% per month. If I really want to shoot it up, then I think going up to 15% might be reasonable. So what you're really doing is a combination of historical data and benchmarking, and kind of taking your best guess and testing it out for a few months and seeing, am I able to reach that number? Does it seem reasonable with the tracking, or are we totally off? So especially when you get started, it's a lot of trial and error and kind of figuring out where the right numbers for yourself lie. That's also where your business goals come in, because you have to be able to make it seem realistic towards hitting that business goal. So your business goal might be, I want to gain, 10 new clients a month, and they should be coming from email. And so your marketing goal starts to be, okay, I want to deliver those 10 clients per month. How many people need to be on my email list to be able to start to deliver that, and kind of work back from there. Got some great goals starting to pop up in the chat. 5 influencers, creators to join my affiliate program. Excellent. 100 new subscribers to your email list. 2 new branches. Update website with current offers and decrease the bounce rate. Awesome. Thanks everybody for sharing. It looks like we've got some great goals. So now let's start talking about one big goal, and that's your revenue goal. So I want to look at a conversion funnel and how we can start to calculate real traffic goals based on your sales targets. So this is another way that we can start to give ourselves true KPIs and numbers to bounce against. It gives you a solid point to shoot for when you're setting up campaigns or judging whether or not you're getting enough qualified traffic to your website. So the basics is revenue goals determine your sales goals determine your lead goals, and your lead goals determine your traffic goals. Each section calculates into the next section. So we should be able to work backwards from our final revenue goal all the way back up to our traffic goal. We're about to get into some heavy math here. So you can work through it on your workbooks on page 6. I've got all the equations in there so that you have them going forward. Don't feel bad if I lose you. Honestly, I still get messed up on this and I've been doing it for years. It's a lot of like dividing by percentages, which I mean, nobody likes to do, but once you get the hang of it, it can be really helpful. This is also my shameless plug to say if this is confusing or you want some help with those numbers, please feel free to get in contact with me and my team. We're always more than happy to do one-to-one advising or coaching or walk through those numbers with you. All right, so our first thing that we want to do is calculate our goal for new customers a month. So this starts with our monthly revenue goal. Let's say for this example, our monthly revenue goal is $10,000. We divide that by the average revenue per new customer that we would get. So let's say in this example, each customer is worth $2,500. So we divide $10,000 by $2,500, and that gives us 4. So we want to try and get 4 new customers a month. Next step is calculating our goal for leads per month. So we're going to take that new customer goal, so that's 4, and we're going to divide it by our conversion rate. Our conversion rate is how many leads turn into customers. So if we say our conversion rate is 25%, that means about 1 in every 4 leads becomes a customer. So we would divide 4 customers by 25%, and that equals 16 leads a month. Now we're going to calculate our traffic goal. So once again, we're going to take that lead goal that we have. We have 16 leads, and let's say our conversion rate from visitors to leads is 5%. So that means 5 of every 100 visitors becomes a lead. So we're going to take 16 leads and divide it by 5%, and we're going to get 320 visitors a month. So our final output, calculating all this, is in order to hit our revenue goal of $10,000 per month, we need 4 new customers a month, 16 qualified leads, and at least 320 visitors on our website. Now you've got realistic traffic and lead goals instead of just vibes and hope. It also gives you a few KPIs as you run through to start tracking for yourself. The 3 numbers I would tell you to start tracking today are leads generated, your conversion rate, and your new customers. Leads generated is how many people reached out or filled out a form or messaged you with interest. Your conversion rate is of the people who showed interest, how many became customers. The formula for that is your sales divided by your leads times 100 to turn it into a percentage. And new customers, how many customers do you have now? 2 more you could typically take a look at, and that we would look at if we were starting to take a look at people's numbers, is your engagement rate and your traffic numbers. But since we only have an hour today, I'm going to skip over those 2. I also want to do a quick note on ROI. So ROI stands for return on investment, but it's not just about revenue. It's about matching your results to your goal. So it's not always about money. And this is where sometimes people get a little bit confused when it comes to marketing KPIs and marketing ROI. When we talk about ROI, what we're really looking at is, did I get value that matches what I was aiming for? So it's another reason to track your numbers, because things like learning and insights can be one of the biggest KPIs out there, especially in marketing, where essentially you want to fail and you want to fail fast. You want to test things, see what's working, and determine quickly whether this is effective or not effective so that you can make changes, make shifts to make it effective. The best way is by tracking your numbers and learning what's working and what's not, and failing a couple of times. A couple of examples of ROI by goal. Your goal might be revenue, in which case getting $1,000 in sales from a $200 ad. That's awesome. You might also be looking at leads, where you're trying to get 50 quality leads to send to your sales team. You could be looking at awareness, where you're trying to get as many, you get 10,000 views on a brand video, and that's great awareness. You could be doing engagement where you get 200 saves and 20 replies on a post. Time, you could be automating 3 emails a week and saving, 2 hours of time. Waste reduction, you could stop spending money on a dead channel. Learning, so you tested 2 audiences and found one that's effective for you. Essentially, your question with ROI is always, did I get back the value that matches what I was aiming for? Did the value match the goal that I set for myself? Okay, here's another activity. So there's a mini dashboard in your workbooks, but again, you could do this in an Excel sheet. You could do this on a sheet of paper, just something to give yourself a way of tracking some numbers. So I'll give you just a couple of minutes here to go through and make your best guess now on where you are at with your numbers, or if you're aware of your numbers, you can pop them in there. But essentially what we want to take a look at is those 3 numbers. And there's a couple other numbers in the workbook too that say like your engagement rate and your traffic and all that good stuff. Tracking your numbers and creating a dashboard can be as easy as just writing what the number is and where you're starting and what the goal is you want to get to. And once a month, giving yourself like a 10-15 minute CEO moment where you sign in and you look at those numbers and you say, hey, am I moving towards my goal? Or do I need to tweak something in my campaigns and the activities that I'm doing so that I am moving towards my goal? All right, while you're doing that, I'm going to check the chat and see if there's any other questions. In a handmade business, it's not always about money. Absolutely. So that goes again to the ROI question that we were talking about. It's not just about revenue. Sometimes it can be about a lot of different things. And it's about matching what your real ROI is to your goals. And the only person who can really say what the ROI you're looking for is you. It's hard to access our conversion rate realistically. It can be a tricky one for sure. And sometimes this comes down to a little bit of guesswork at the beginning, and giving yourself some numbers where you can at least work backwards and say, okay, where did my last 5 sales come from? Where did those leads come in from? What channels did they come in from? How did I decide that they became leads? Did they email me? Did they fill out a form? Is it a number of phone calls? And that can start to tell you, okay, that's what your lead gate is. So let's say that I go back in time and I realize, okay, my last 5 customers called me first, and that's how I determined they were ripe for selling. So now your leads are phone calls. So you should track each month, how many phone calls do you get and how many clients did you get? And dividing the clients by the number of phone calls will give you that final conversion rate. Awesome. All right. Let's continue on to when to pivot. Okay, so I'm going to go over this fairly quickly. But when to pivot. If it's not working, you want to ask, did I give it enough time? Did I promote it enough? Was the offer clear and compelling? Once you've been able to answer those questions all in the affirmative, it's time to do the keep, tweak, kill rule. Keep it if the numbers are looking good and you're feeling excited and you're hitting the ROIs that you're trying to hit. Tweak it if something's off, but you see the potential. Kill it if it's a drain and it doesn't align with your goals. So here's a quick scenario, and I'm curious to hear what everyone says in the chat. But let's say a founder has a Facebook business page. She posts there twice a week and repurposes content from LinkedIn, occasionally sharing behind the scenes stuff. She has 310 followers. Her posts typically get 3 to 6 likes, mostly from people she knows personally. As far as she's aware, she's never gotten any leads from Facebook. Not one client traced back to it in the last 2 years. So, keep, tweak, or kill. What do you think? Tweak? Kathy says thumbs down. Kill, kill, keep, kill, cut. Yeah, kill, 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 tweak, tweak. Nice. All right. So my answer for this would be kill it, because there's nothing necessarily to keep here. The organic reach on Facebook business pages is essentially zero without paid ads. That's just something I know from the marketing world. But when it comes to Facebook, unless you're getting really strong organic reach and you have a huge following already built, it's very hard to build one nowadays without paid ads. And this person isn't running paid ads, they're doing organic. The 310 followers aren't necessarily going anywhere useful, and the time it takes to repurpose and post there is small, but it's still friction. It's another thing on the list that creates the feeling of doing marketing without doing anything for the business. The only reason it's still running is because it was set up when she launched it and nobody decided to stop it. So in my opinion, that's enough reason to kill it. Yeah, we're doing okay on time. I was like, let's work through another example. Okay, this one's a little bit more complicated. So a service-based founder has been posting on Instagram 3 times a week for 18 months. She has 2,400 followers, really good engagement, and she genuinely enjoys making the content. When you trace back her last 8 clients, 5 came from LinkedIn, 2 from referrals, and 1 from a speaking event. So she comes in and she wants to tweak the strategy for Instagram, potentially by posting more reels, trying a new content mix, or maybe investing in better graphics. Do we keep the channel? Do we keep Instagram? Do we tweak it or do we kill it? Keep, tweak. Awesome. So this is a tricky one. And the reason that it's tricky is because while she enjoys creating the content and she has 2,400 followers on there, she's never gotten a sale from that channel. Where she has gotten sales from is her LinkedIn channel. So if it was me, I might suggest either killing it because it's not bringing in clients, and that's 6 to 8 hours a week that she's spending that she could put into her LinkedIn channel, or tweaking it because it's something that she's passionate about. So it makes it feel like less work, but tweaking it so that she's spending more time on her LinkedIn channel and less time on Instagram. Because sometimes it's a matter of, where does my audience actually live? If her audience actually lives on LinkedIn, why are you spending time, energy, and potentially money on a channel where your audience doesn't live and that you have no proof that they're living there? That's why I would necessarily kill it over tweak it, but tweaking assumes the channel has potential that hasn't been unlocked yet. And if she's really gung-ho on tweaking it, I would ask her to do an audience engagement check and see who is on this channel. Does she have any members of that audience, or is it just other people who are interested in her content and not her services? Okay, the next question I usually get here around now is, okay, but a sale might take me 3 months. So how do I know right now, is that campaign working if I haven't made a sale yet? Because maybe the sale comes in a couple of months. That's where we start to look at leading versus lagging indicators. So a leading indicator, these are early signs. They're predictive metrics that suggest future outcomes. They help you stay proactive and adjust before results are locked in. So think, are we doing the right things now to get the results we want later? So these are during the campaign, the numbers you might be looking at to see, are we moving towards the right final numbers, the final goal that I was looking at. A couple of examples of these is website traffic, social media engagement, email open and click-through rates, webinar registrations, ad impressions and click-through rates, a number of inbound leads or form submissions, SEO keyword rankings, and discovery call bookings. They tell you what's working in your marketing activity so you can start optimizing in real time. So for example, I might be running an organic campaign that goes across email and social media. I know well that my audience is on that social media channel, and we're getting good engagement there, and our email open rate is strong and the click-through rate is strong. That's telling me we're getting good interest, we're getting good traction, so I can feel more confident that my lagging indicators, the outcome metrics at the end, are going to be positive. Whereas if I was running that channel and we were getting 0 engagement and our click-through rate was really low, I know that I need to make some changes or I'm not going to hit the outcome metrics that I'm looking for. So let's talk about lagging indicators. These are outcome metrics. They reflect the results of past efforts. They help you measure impact and performance, but they're reactive. So it's essentially using it to say, did that strategy work? So some examples of lagging indicators is the revenue generated, the number of deals closed, customer lifetime value, conversion rate, customer retention rate, the ROI on your marketing campaigns, and your churn rate. They tell you whether your marketing efforts paid off, but they're typically too late to change mid-campaign. So if I find out at the end of the campaign what my conversion rate for the whole campaign was, it's too late for me to go back and change that. So that's why I want to keep an eye on the leading indicators during the course of the campaign. Think of it as using leading indicators to steer the ship, while the lagging indicators confirmed you reached the destination. Okay, I'm going to skip the next activity and we'll circle back to it if we have time, but I want to make sure we leave time for questions. All right, so we've talked about leading indicators, lagging indicators, and ROI, and a couple of numbers to start thinking about. All of those are building great habits for yourself. One of the big habits you can start to create for yourself is to put aside 10 to 15 minutes a month where you go back and you check all your numbers and you're able to tell yourself, am I moving forward? Am I moving towards the goals that I want to reach? A couple other leading habits, or another leading habit you might look at, is your inbox, your mailing ability. One of the early signs that can tell you whether a sale is coming is phone calls and emails in your inbox. And it's something that you might forget to track, and that might be how fast are you actually responding to inquiries. You've done all this work to get traffic. You've converted that traffic into leads, and then the lead lands in your inbox and it goes cold because you took 3 days to reply. Your inbox response time is a leading indicator for your conversion rate. If your close rate is low and you're not sure why, this is another place that you could look. So another habit that I recommend starting for yourself is to set response windows. So it could be 24 hours max or same day business if you can, and building a template so you're not starting from scratch every time. You don't have to be always on to be responsive. You just have to be reliable and set certain dates and expectations with yourself and your clients. Reliability shows up in your numbers across channels and platforms. And that goes for lots of little details like this, where the best things to do is to start setting response windows, setting those numbers for yourself to say, I want to respond within this amount of time. I want our team to be this responsive on certain channels. I want to answer DMs within this period of time. Being responsive and jumping back and adding to things is a different kind of KPI that you can set for yourself to make sure that you're servicing your customers the way that you want to be. So your next move, number one, pick one number, at least one number. I'd love it if it was more, but at least one number to start tracking starting today. That could be leads generated. How many leads am I generating a month? It could even be down to a week. So how many leads do I generate per week, per month, per quarter? One habit to lock in before Monday. Set your inbox response window. Give yourself, I'm going to get back to people either within 24 or 48 hours. And if you have any questions, you're going to email me, sarah@studio3creative.ca. So if there's anything else that I can answer, or you got any questions about what's going on here today and you didn't have a chance to ask your question, then please feel free to shoot me an email or follow me on LinkedIn or wherever you want to get in touch. My contact information is also in the workbook, and I think we've put it in the chat. And please, I'm totally available, and I want to make sure that I answer all the questions you have. That being said, if you have any questions now that I can answer, please feel free to drop them in the chat or come off mute and let me know.
So, any questions for Sarah? We don't all have the answers here today. Sarah was saying that earlier that, the math is even a little bit cryptic after years. So, yeah, anything you're interested in, you could raise your hand or just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question. Sarah's pretty easy to get along with. I think that would be great to do. Kate, you've got a question? Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
I've kind of been looking into a bunch of different marketing things to do for my business over the past couple months. And I was wondering if you've noticed like certain industries do better with like webinars versus like posting on LinkedIn versus like having an email newsletter. Because um, I can get quite overwhelmed quickly with how to do marketing because there are so many different options out there, and then trying to be like mindful of like who I really want to talk to and who I really enjoy working with. I was just wondering if there's like how much of it is like what works best for yourself to execute? Because recently I've been thinking about doing like webinars and things like that for marketing as opposed to social media. Because with social media, it's easier for me to do with for other clients as opposed to myself, just because of the chaos of running your own business. Yeah, I was just curious your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. So I think it's a mix of both because I like to approach it from a place where, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all entrepreneurs and sometimes there's only so much you can do. And when you get really overwhelmed and you're trying to check off like 1,000 things on a list, it's just, doing a lot of things instead of putting your all into doing one thing.
Right,
So I'm a big believer in less channels
right,
and more specific channels. So when you're starting to go down the path of picking what channels are right for you, the first thing you want to do is understand as much about your audience as possible.
right.
So there's a lot of great tools out there. GWI Insights is actually a free tool you can use. I think you get up to 10 questions you can ask it. And it can tell you about the media usage of your audience. So if you start to figure out what the demographic of your audience looks like, it can tell you where they spend their time. That's the first step in creating any marketing campaign is understanding who your audience is and where they spend their time. And then you want to start to get on their media platforms. You want to start to be like, okay, I see this is where you're spending your time. I'm going to build my strategy around being where you are. Um,
Totally.
and then once you figured out where they are and you're like, okay, so let's say my audience is a B2B service based um, company and they're really interested in um, case studies. I might focus all of my time and energy on creating case studies on LinkedIn because I know that LinkedIn is a big source of B2B.
Right.
Um,
Totally.
and then do all my marketing on LinkedIn, looked at potentially LinkedIn ads. But then I might also start to look at what do I have the potential to do? I can't necessarily put out a case study once a week, so maybe it happens once a quarter, and all of
Mm,
our content branches off from that case study.
right.
Um, so hopefully that helps. Get to know
Yeah.
your audience as much as possible first, do the
Hmm.
research on them, and then start to build out your strategy from there.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. That's super helpful. Thank you.
No
Thanks,
problem.
Kate. Sarah, there's another question from Brett. Brett, go
Hi.
ahead.
Hi, thanks. Hi, Sarah. Nice to meet you. Thanks for the presentation. My question kind of builds on what Kate just asked. I have Instagram. I used to use it. There are posts on there, but I just found personally for my own mental health, it was a disaster. And I never had any potential clients from there. So I just put a video that said, I'm taking a break. And now it's still alive, but can I just kill it, like delete it, or is it good to have it there as like visibility if someone were to look me up? Because sometimes people tag me on things in there.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a believer in you've already essentially killed the channel. Um, what I call would say to do next is set up what I call a storefront. So all you're gonna do is put your contact information in your bio, make it really clear who you are, what you're doing, how people can get in touch with you, what channels they should be following you on. Remove content that doesn't showcase that and have it so that when you pop onto your profile, it sends you automatically somewhere else. It shows I'm a real business, I exist, you should interact with me, just know we're not on here. And send people and try to funnel them towards the channels you are on. It helps you with your SEO because Google is able to understand you have social media in different places. It's connected to your other channels. It helps you with discovery. So if someone does happen across your Instagram, you exist and they know that. And if they're looking for you, especially Gen Z tends to do this, they tend to check Instagram to make sure people exist. Where, I'm not saying I'm a lot older, but our older generations like mine, we're gonna check Google first.
Yeah.
Gen Z tends to check Instagram. So it's giving them something that says, yes, we do exist, but just interact with us on another channel.
Okay, thank you. And should I use something like Linktree for those redirects, or just try and have it directly in the profile if possible?
A link tree is great if you have like multiple channels you're trying to send people to. If there's
Mhm.
one specific place you want people to go where you're like, interact with me on my website only, then just put your website in there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's really helpful. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Brett. Sarah, there's a question in the chat. Thanks for your information. Could you please introduce tools that can help us attract more clients? Like, is that, once you know who your client is, where they are, or yeah, I think this person's looking for a bit of a shortcut if you've got one to share.
Introduce tools that can help us attract more clients. That's such a big question. um, so when it comes to attracting clients, I would say the same thing that I said when we were talking to Kate earlier. The tools are going to depend on the clients you're trying to attract. So there's a lot of different social channels that you can use, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram being sort of the big three. But there's also Medium, Pinterest, Substack, your website, your SEO, your Google My Business profile. Um, all of those kind of come together into what your marketing plan and your tactics are. A couple of other tools that you might look at or think about is creating landing pages on your website. You can use, there's a couple of very cool tools out there that you can use. Um, Shogun, I think is what it's called, is one that's just popped into my head, where you can actually create landing pages for specific campaigns and add them to your site and then turn them off when the campaigns are done. And it does a lot of really great tracking in the background for you. Your Google My Business profile, if you haven't spent the time to set up your Google My Business profile, do so. It's free. And it can greatly help your SEO, and that's a great place to start collecting reviews and testimonials of your services. Trying to think of other tools. I mean, the big thing about when it comes to marketing tools a lot of the times is about how do you automate the marketing that you're doing? How do you start to schedule and perform things so that it becomes easier for you and you can measure the numbers that you have coming in? A couple of great tools for social media scheduling. You might look at later.com. Sprout Social is a good one. And what's another good one? I can't think of another good
Is
one.
Hootsuite still around, or is that like, am I
Hootsuite's still
aging
around.
myself?
I don't usually recommend Hootsuite because it's a little bit dated compared to
Yeah,
some of the other tools that are available now.
yeah.
Buffer, as Brett said, that's a great one. It's free to use, so it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but it's affordable, which is excellent. um, and then a couple other tools you might want to look at and have in your back pocket is all of the Google tools, Google Search Console, Google Analytics, tracking your stuff because it's free and it gives you valuable information. And yeah, my sort of starter marketing toolkit would be there. If you're interested, if you go to the link to the Nifty Gifties on our website, we actually also have a downloadable page that has our recommendations for a starter marketing toolkit. So which tools that we get started with when we're creating marketing programs for people. In fact, I'll just really quickly post my contact information and the Nifty Gifties and all that good stuff in the chat again.
That's great. So we probably have one room for one more question. Sarah, there was somebody posted, Hillary, do you have a system you recommend for tracking your email KPIs? Is there an AI solution? And then in brackets, she said, I use Google Workspace.
Okay, Google Workspace.
So tracking your email KPIs, and I guess that's just number of emails you get because they really need to be more segregated, right? Like whether it's an inquiry or just a hi, I saw your post or something like that.
I've never used them myself, but I know there are a couple of AI solutions you can use that organize your inbox for you.
Okay.
My big thing I would do is start implementing tagging. So tag, this is what I have coming in for inquiries. This is newsletters from other people. This is sales possibilities. This is outgoing. So I would use the system of tagging and organization. Someone said it in the chat, but CRM is probably what you want to start looking at as your next step. I recommend everyone start to build out a CRM because it's going to give you all of that tracking and organization and KPIs typically automatically at this point. There's a lot of AI solutions that go along with having a CRM. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Manager. And so you want to get yourself a CRM sooner rather than later because it'll start to save all the customer information that builds up in your email. It makes it a lot easier to start figuring out where in your sales process they are. As Erica mentioned in there, yes, HubSpot has a free version. There's a bunch of great CRMs out there. And start doing some research to see what's used a lot in your industry. HubSpot is kind of industry agnostic, but there's a lot of different ones that are very tied into industry. Like say if you're a health manager, JNAP has a good CRM that they use. MindBody has a CRM. Let's say that you're, more on the tech side. There's some more like highly technical ones out there. Another thing that you could look at if you're thinking about email specifically is start looking at email providers. So if you're talking about outbound emails, looking at something like MailChimp or Webflow, even Zoho, they have ways of tracking the emails that you're actually sending out, and you can build nice looking emails within their builders. And they'll give you automatically, like, this is what your click-through rate looks like, this is what the open rate looks like, this is what your delivery rate looks like, which are all helpful KPIs to start tracking with email as well.
Thanks, Sarah. So we're about 5 minutes from the end. So yeah, if you want to stop sharing your screen, we'll kind of finish up. Thanks everybody for the great questions. That was fantastic. So there you go. All right. We already welcomed you. So I just want to say, thank you so much for Sarah today. Again, it's a topic that you really need to think about. If this is the first time you've waded into it, it might take you a little bit of time to kind of formulate the question in the correct way. And again, Sarah is generous enough to provide us here with her email address, her contact information. So if by any chance you need to talk to her today or something, get a hold of WeBC and we will pass that along to you. Like I say, you're going to get a follow-up email where you can watch the session as many times as you like for a period of time. So again, go through it on another day and yeah, then reach out to Sarah. That would be great. So thanks, Sarah. It was a presentation that I think that people thought was more complicated, but actually it is step by step. Business isn't it's not easy, but on the other hand, it's not impossible. Step by step kind of works really well. So thank you so much today. I just want to let everybody know we were talking so much about marketing that we do have at WeBC a free strategic marketing course that is asynchronous, which means you start it online, you've got access to it for 90 days, and in the end, you end up with a marketing plan. And part of that marketing, a big section of the workbook is all about knowing your customer, that deep dive into figuring out who is buying your product. So, I would highly recommend that. So again, eBlast, if anybody's interested, we would love for you to sign up for that too, because again, gives you access to all sorts of things that we are doing. We've got another webinar coming up, Market Season Growth Series Part 1, showing up strategically. Are you making the most of marketing season? And again, a lot of people start out in farmers markets and build their business that way. And then there's September 16th as Part 2, which is fantastic. So I just want to encourage you to keep going, and any information that you need from WeBC, we're here. Any information you need from Sarah, I hope you appreciate. She's probably going to be really busy after this webinar, but she will get back to you. So thank you very much. And yeah, you can do all our socials too. You can follow us on Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever. And again, Jen is going to do a feedback poll right now, and the feedback poll is actually going to be something where you can suggest another webinar. Maybe you want Sarah back for a 3-part series. Tell us that, and we'll get a hold of Sarah and make it happen. So if you've got a few minutes, I think there's 80 some people still left in the webinar. If you could fill that out, we would really love that. And again, make a suggestion. And anybody that's got to go, we're cognizant of your time. You're busy business people, and it's probably really close to 11 o'clock. So thank you very much for being here today. Thank you for filling out the feedback poll. And thank you so much, Sarah. It was fantastic. And yeah, when the poll is done, that's we'll say goodbye, but goodbye to everybody. And thank you very much for joining us today, and enjoy your day. And depending where you are in the Lower Mainland or up in the Okanagan, please stay cool and stay safe, and call the Fire Smart number if you see anything. Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Excellent. We've got some good feedback in the feedback poll, which is always great.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting us, Kathy.
Yeah, no
Nice to meet you,
problem.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Let's let
Bye,
the
Jen.
feedback poll's good, and we're gonna close it out.
Looks good.
Okay.
Thank you.